Thank you so much for being here. I know your time is valuable, so I'm not going to waste it. And this title is exactly what it sounds like. I've been inside 100 plus small business marketing operations, and what I find is almost always the same is these 7 issues that come up. Nobody in the agency world will walk you through this list. It's not in their interest to do that, but it is absolutely in yours. So 60 minutes-ish, there's time in there for questions. No pitch, no jargon, just the truth. And fair warning, some of this might sting a little because you're going to recognize it in your own business. But that's why we're here. I built this session for business owners paying for marketing, an agency, a contractor, Susie, the admin in your office, someone on your team who can't honestly say they know if it's working. Right? If you've ever opened your monthly report and thought, what am I actually looking at? You're in the right place. You're not alone. And if you just said, what monthly report? You're also in the right place. This is not for people chasing overnight results or growth hacks. No post 3 times a day. No going viral. We're talking real strategy and real accountability. So some housekeeping questions, or some housekeeping. So drop your questions in the chat as we go. There's going to be time for Q&A at the end. Anna is here on my team, and she will be watching the chat and the questions. And fair warning, what I say in here is actually how I speak to clients. It's what I say to clients and business owners. So this is my no BS promise to you. All right. So before we get into the content, I want to take 60 seconds so you know who you're spending the next 45 minutes to an hour with. I'm Robyn. I'm the president here at Strategy Leaders. We've been helping small to mid-sized business owners grow for 3 decades. I came up through this firm almost 20 years and took over as president at the start of this year. So I also run a full-service marketing agency called Bad Bee Marketing, and I co-founded a remote staffing company, Find Staff, a few years back. So when I say that I'm a business operator, I actually mean it. I'm not a consultant who's never run a P&L. I'm in it with you. And here's why I do this work. So most business owners are genuinely good at what they do. The thing that trips them up isn't industry knowledge or work ethic. It's that nobody ever handed them a clear framework for how to grow. So they figure it out in real time, under pressure, while trying to have a life. Silly. That's the messy middle. I live there too. I have 3 kids, a farm, pulled in 17 different directions before 8 a.m., then show up and lead a business, or multiple businesses. So everything today is built for real operators, not for a case study, for you. Okay, that's me. So let's go. Here's the roadmap for the next hour. We're going to start with why most marketing isn't working, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Then the main event, the 7 problems I find in almost every audit that we do. We'll go through each one, and I want you tracking which ones are happening in your business. There will be polls along the way. There's only 4 in this whole presentation, so I'm not going to bombard you. After that, what good marketing actually looks like. So you have something to measure your current setup against, and then Q&A, where you get to ask me anything. Drop questions in the chat the whole time. Don't wait for the end. Tell me when something lands and when it doesn't. This isn't a one-way presentation, even though I can't see you. And one thing up front, if you're nodding at more than a couple of these, you're not behind. You're just finally seeing clarity, and that's the point. So let's get into it. You did not start your business to become a marketing expert, unless you work in marketing. I see you here, Arthur. And at some point, marketing became your problem and nobody else was doing it, or you tried to hand it off and it didn't go how you hoped. And now you're paying for something you don't fully understand, getting reports you can't interpret, running on gut feeling, and whatever the agency tells you. That nagging feeling that something isn't right, most of the time it's accurate. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because the system isn't set up to give you the full picture. So reports are curated, metrics are chosen for a reason, and the jargon is thick enough that asking a question almost feels embarrassing. Like, we talk about finance bros, like marketing bros, like you should be in the know, but it shouldn't be embarrassing. It shouldn't feel that way. Here's the thing I want you to sit with though. You are the client. You are paying the invoice. You're the one who feels like you're not allowed to ask what you're paying for. That's backwards. Let's fix the information gap right now. Here are the 7 things that I see almost every time. And here they are, all 7. All right, see you later, guys. Just kidding. Look at the list and just notice what your gut does. If you're nodding at more than 2, you're in good company and you're in the right session. we're going to go through each one. So quick self-check. Type the numbers of the ones that just made your stomach drop. Not all of them, just the ones you felt. That list you just typed is your personal priority order for the next 90 days. And you built it in about 8 seconds. Keep it. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to do with it. So let's get into post and pray. Post and pray is exactly what it sounds like, posting on a schedule with no real strategy. 3 times a week because someone said so, National Coffee Day because it was on the calendar. Here's what most owners don't know. Agencies build one content template and stamp it across every client. I've seen it. Before I started my own agency, I worked as a fractional CMO. So I saw agencies doing this to business owners. Same client, same format, different logo, right? The posts going out under your brand this week are structurally identical to the ones going out for a business 3 states away in a totally different industry. Nobody asked you what your business does or who your best customer is or what you're actually trying to accomplish. It looks active. The analytics show something, but none of it really connects to revenue. Real strategy means that every piece has a purpose, is a part of a plan, and is built for the platform that it lives on. Pull up your last 5 social media posts. You don't have to do it right now, but when we get off this, I want you to do that. Can you tell me the business reason for each one? Not the topic, the reason that it exists. If 3 of the 5 were, it was that day on the calendar, you found problem 1. So the vanity metric trap. This one makes me the angriest because it is deliberate. Impressions mean your content appeared on a screen somewhere. That's the entirety of what it tells you. Not that anyone saw it, not that anyone who matters saw it, not that a single human stopped and thought, I need to hire this company. It means a number went up. It's like putting makeup on a cat. And website traffic is the same. On one audit, I found a client whose traffic was up 40% year over year. The agency led that whole report with that number because it looked the best. And when I dug into it, most of the traffic was bots and visitors from countries the business doesn't even serve, like China and India. The number was real, but the value was 0. And it was on the slide 1 because it looked incredible. And these metrics get chosen precisely because they trend up with almost 0 effort. So let's talk about what actually matters. How many people contacted you, clicked a call to action, booked, made a reservation for a vehicle, became qualified leads. That is your marketing report. So the third problem that we see a lot of is the keyword language gap. So this one surprises people the most, and it's one of the most expensive, and it's been quietly costing you visibility for years. Owners are fluent in their own industry language, so they typically build a site using the terms that they know. So limo operators will say chauffeur, but customers might search driver near me, or they might want to focus on executive transportation, but I might be searching black car, right? Funeral homes use clinical pre-arrangement language, but a grieving family Googling at 2 a.m. has never typed that type of language. I see this, HVAC companies name equipment by technical model terms that customers almost never search. So your website was written for you, not the person looking for you. So a smaller competitor with worse service will outrank you because they happen to use the words that your customers actually use. Here's the cost made concrete. If you're spending $3,000 a month on marketing and you're invisible for the exact phrase your buyers type, you're not paying for marketing, you're paying to stay hidden. So here's a self-check that you can run in 30 seconds. I want you to open an incognito window and search the way your customer would actually phrase it, the messy, real person version, and see if you're on page 1. Then search your own fancy industry term and watch yourself rank beautifully for words nobody types. I see this a lot. And then if you're feeling like sharing, you can tell me in the chat if you're ranking and where you disappeared from. Problem 4 is the invisible website problem. Your website might be the most expensive thing in your marketing stack that isn't doing its job. When did you last update your website? Last check that your contact forms work, all of them. When did you last look at load speed on your phone? So our SEO team finds this in almost every audit. Missing H1 tags. So H1 tags are the headline structure that tells search engines what that page is about. Missing title tags and meta descriptions. That's the text that shows up in Google results. And then basic stuff is almost always wrong or missing. And then speed. A beautiful site, nobody optimized for load time. Google cares and customers care more, and they'll leave your website in seconds. And then the one that no one warns you about because backlinks get all the hype. However, no one talks about toxic backlinks, spam sites, junk directories, and yes, actual adult sites linking to ordinary small business websites. I've personally found porn site backlinks pointing at a family-owned local business that had no idea, and it tanks your search authority silently, and you'd never think to look. Because when you Google yourself, you don't, these are not showing, well, maybe they're showing up for you, but they're not showing up for the normal person. And so you wouldn't even know. But your website company, your marketing company, whatever, they should know. So if you pull up your own site on your phone right now and count the seconds until it's usable, ask yourself, could a stranger tell you what you do in 10 seconds and contact you without hunting for contact information? And here's a tip. This is going to sound crazy, but any website that takes longer than 3 seconds will lose people before they even see a word. 3. That doesn't even feel like that long until you're waiting for a website to load. Believe me, that is ages. Okay, social media identity crisis. So before anyone reads a single word, inconsistency in your social media is already doing damage for your brand. So if you pull up your Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn side by side right now, do they look like the same company? And if you look at posts, the last 5 posts on each platform, does it look like the same company and the same person or, you know, is posting? Same colors, same fonts, tone, logo? Or does each one look like a different team made it on a different day? Most businesses fail at this side-by-side test. And before a potential client reads a single word, that inconsistency quietly signals smaller, less reliable, less professional, even when it's probably not true. The other constant that we see that is a big red flag is that it's all promotion but no value. So every post is here's our service or buy this from us or here's our special. Nobody follows an account that only talks about themselves. People follow accounts that teach them, show them something, or make them feel something. And for LinkedIn specifically, if you're doing 7 figures and you're invisible there, you're leaving relationships and referrals on the table every single day because your best clients and referral partners are probably on LinkedIn, not arguing on Facebook. I want you to do that self-check. You don't have to do it right now, but pull up your social media accounts. Would a stranger know that it's one company? Answer yes or no. And the second question is, when did the owner, you, last post anything on LinkedIn that wasn't a company repost? And if you can't remember, there's a gap there. So problem 6 is the reporting black box, and this might be the most important slide, so screenshot it now. Here's how the reporting game actually works. Agencies send the metrics that look good. The green arrows, the big easy numbers. What they don't send is what isn't working, what they're changing, and what the plan is when something underperforms, because that requires accountability, and accountability is uncomfortable, at least for them. A real report isn't 40 slides, it's 5 things. What happened, what it means, what's working, what isn't, and what we're doing next. Everything else is decoration to justify an invoice. So let's run your last report through the 5 questions right now. Are we ranking for terms our buyers actually search? Is our traffic from people who could become customers? How many people took an action on our site last month? What did we spend on ads and what did we get back from that? What isn't working and what's the plan? Count how many your last report can actually answer. If you're under 3, you don't have a report, you have a document designed to make you feel okay about your payment. For the record, this is exactly what a bad bee marketing report looks like. Plain English, those 5 answers every month, no exceptions. Okay, a final problem. This is the hill I will die on. The no strategy tax. This ties everything together. The other six problems are all symptoms of one root cause, no real strategy. Tactics without strategy aren't marketing, they're activity. And activity without direction is expensive. So the no strategy tax costs you in four ways. Budget on channels that aren't right. No compounding because nothing builds on anything. No measurement because you never defined what success was, and you're starting from scratch every quarter. So I want you to ask yourself, does your current partner have a documented strategy? Not a content calendar, not a posting schedule, but which channels, why, what you're trying to achieve, and how you know it's going to work. So this one, I'm not sure if you'll do, but I'm going to encourage you to do it anyway. Email your marketing person right now. You can BCC me if you want, because I love to read those responses. You can forward it to me. You cannot send it to me at all, but I like to be a little nosy. So I want you to ask them to send you the one-page strategy document, not the calendar, the strategy. If you get a calendar back or a long pause or let me put something together, you just found the tax and you found it live. So with my clients, everyone gets a 1 hour strategy kickoff and a 12-month roadmap before we execute anything. You should demand the same from whoever you work with because we need to know where we're going in order to get there, right? We're not just going to get on the bus and with the driver and hope for the best, right? We are going to have a manifest and a plan. So I want to give you a little more context on strategy leaders because the firm is behind everything I'm sharing with you today. We've been doing this for 30 years. That's not a number I throw out to sound impressive. It means we've sat across from hundreds of business owners at every stage of business, in every kind of market, and in every economy. We've seen what works and we've seen what looks good in presentation and what falls apart in real life. We don't do the second thing. What we do is growth consulting and exit planning. We work alongside owners, not handing them a binder and walking away, but actually in it with them, finding the constraint, building the plan, and staying through execution. On the marketing side, Bad Bee Marketing is our sister company, and it's built for the owner who knows that marketing needs to be a real function in their business, but they can't justify a full-time in-house team or a full-time CMO. And our clients look a lot like the people in this room, past their survival mode. The revenue is there, but stuck between where they are and where they know they could be. That's who we do our best work with. Okay, that's the backdrop. Now let's get into what you actually came here for is to ask me questions. Try to stump me. So I want to close this content with what good marketing actually looks like because owners who have been burned enough start to believe bad marketing is just how it is. I have those conversations all the time that all agencies are the same, that it's just the cost of doing business, but I promise you it's not. Real marketing isn't complicated. Marketing people love to make it complicated. Strategy first, execute second, report honestly and adjust when things don't work and repeat. You deserve a marketing partner who speaks plain English, tells you what's working and what isn't without being asked, treats your budget like it's their own money, shows up prepared, and doesn't disappear after the kickoff. Those people exist. Don't settle for less. So you just ran a bunch of self-checks on your own business in the last 26, look, we're moving fast, 26 minutes. And that's more diagnostic than most owners get in a year of paying for an agency. So let's get to your questions. We've got some time for questions, so drop them in the chat and I'll work through as many as I can. Nothing is off limits. If you've been nodding along and want to know how something applies to your specific business, please ask it. If I can't fully answer in this format because of timing or it's very specific, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you how to get the real answer. Be direct, be specific, no consultant non-answers from me. My booking code is here, so if there's questions you want to deep dive into, please book a call with me.
So Robyn, we received a few questions, so I will start reading them. How do I know if my current agency is actually any good or if I am just used to them?
Yeah, that is a great question. And honestly, the fact that you're asking it tells me something. Here's the test, and it's not complicated. First, Can you read your monthly report and understand it without anyone explaining to you? Not the jargon version, the plain version. And then second, do they tell you what isn't working without you having to drag it out of them? A good partner will bring you the bad news first. And third, is there a documented strategy, an actual page that says which channels, why, and what you're trying to achieve? If you've got all three, keep them. They're doing a good job. If you're sitting there realizing you can't answer one of them, that's not you being paranoid, that's the gap. And that's exactly the kind of thing the audit lays out in black and white.
So, what's a realistic marketing budget for a business doing around 3 million?
Good question. So, everyone is probably wanting me to give an actual number here. So, I'll give you the honest range, and then I'm going to tell you why that's the wrong question. So, most businesses at that 3 million size should be spending somewhere between 3 and 8% of revenue. However, it really does depend on your business, your type of business, because like an e-commerce company, everything you do in marketing is your sales, right? So that is much larger range. So it also depends on how aggressively you're growing. But here's the thing. I've watched businesses set fire to a big budget and get nothing. I talked to a guy a couple weeks ago who spends $4,000 a month on ads on pay-per-click and doesn't get any qualified leads out of that. And I've watched businesses with smaller budgets outperform them by a mile. The dollar amount matters way less than whether there's a real strategy behind it. Spending more on the wrong channels or the wrong things in marketing just means that you're losing money faster. So I wouldn't start with the number. I'd start with the plan, and then the number tells you what you can afford to execute.
Thanks, Robyn. How long before I should expect to see results from marketing?
I would say it depends on what you mean by results. If you mean the vanity stuff, like impressions going up, you'll see results within the first 30 days, and they'll mean probably nothing. If you mean real results, like leads and revenue that you can trace back and real marketing that actually compounds, the first 90 days is usually about fixing what's broken and getting the foundation right. And you start seeing traction in that window. The bigger returns come when things start building on each other instead of resetting every quarter, which is what happens in a lot of marketing agencies. And that's actually the whole point of problem 7. A business that never sees results are the ones starting from scratch every 3 months. And anyone promising you overnight success is selling you the thing that I told you at the beginning of the webinar that we're not here to do. I can see in a question in the chat from David, searches seem to be shifting from Google to AI. How do we increase AI visibility? David, that's an excellent question. So I'm going to try to answer as well as I can within the given time frame, but you and I can obviously hop on a call and kind of chat through this a little bit more. But Google is actively pulling people away from finding your website because they want everyone to use Gemini, or a lot of people are searching in ChatGPT or Claude or things like that, right? And so it comes down to having consistently updated content on your website, blogs, services pages, things like that. But the content needs to answer specific questions instead of just like tent rentals near me or limo near me. It needs to answer very specific. What kind of chairs should I have for my wedding at an outdoor ceremony, right? Like it should answer these questions. And it takes time to build that, and you have to do the research to figure it out. But what I would start with to kind of get that ball rolling is to think about the questions that your team gets from customers and then turn those into blog posts and answer those. Or if you have a page on your website that is selling that specific thing, answer that question on that page. I could go on about this forever. It always changes, unfortunately, but we as marketing people, we just kind of adapt and overcome.
This is an interesting one. It's regarding the website. So my website is only a couple years old. Could it really be a problem?
I'm going to say this gently. Yes, I know that surprises people. New and beautiful are not the same as working. Some of the worst performing sites I audit are honestly the most beautiful because they were built by a designer to look good, not by anyone thinking about whether Google can read it or whether a customer can figure out what you do and contact you within 10 seconds. Age isn't the issue. I've seen 2-year-old sites missing basic title tags. I've seen brand new websites missing these things. Loading slow on a phone with no clear path to book or buy. So don't let, but it's new, talk you out of checking. That's a problem and it hides in really nice design.
Excellent. And can you do this for an engineering firm? We are not Limo or funeral homes or B2C.
Yes. I'm glad you asked that because when I talk to B2B owners, so engineering firms, manufacturing companies, things like that, companies that are, or even limo guys that only go after corporate, right? So businesses that work with businesses, this is a question that comes up a lot. So I think B2B owners often assume that the stuff is a consumer game and it doesn't apply to them. I'm a B2B business, right? And the 7 problems aren't about what you sell. They're about how marketing gets run, and they are industry agnostic. So let me make it concrete for like a firm like yours, an engineering firm. So the keyword gap. Engineering firms are some of the worst offenders, manufacturers too, because you describe your work in precise, technical way that you'd write it in a proposal, and the person who needs you is searching something far simpler or more practical. Your site talks in disciplines and capabilities, and they're searching for the problem they need solved. That gap is costing you exactly like it costs a limo company, just with different words. Their reporting black box, the vanity metrics, the invisible website's all the same. And here's the one that is usually biggest for B2B. The owner is invisible on LinkedIn. The B2C, business to consumer, social is all about reach. In your world, LinkedIn is where your actual buyers, referral partners, and reputation live. If you're doing real revenue and you're silent there, you're leaving relationships on the table every day. And for a firm that wins work on trust and credibility, that is the most expensive miss of all. So, short answer is yes. The diagnosis you heard today still applies. What changes is the specifics and the strategy, and that's where proper kind of audit and digging into what you do would pin that down. I saw another question, Anna, in the Q&A. Do you work with pre-revenue startups? So the short answer is it depends. Marketing costs money. And so pre-revenue is obviously not the same as not having any money at all. We've worked across startups and not-for-profits and, you know, really large functioning businesses. And it all comes down to kind of the owner and the team behind it and the budget to really go forward with it. And so if you want to talk more about what's going on in your business, you can, the QR code is here. Please book time with me or shoot me an email and we can talk about that.
And what actually happens in that free audit? Is that just a sales call?
That's a fair question. And I'd be skeptical too, because free audit usually means a 20-minute call where someone pitches you the whole time. So I get that. I've sat on a lot of those. Looking at you, Salesforce. This is not that. Here's exactly what happens. I actually go look your website, your SEO, well, my team and your social presence, and how you stack up against your competitors. Real analysis, not, it is a template because we put it into a template so it looks nice, but it is not just cut and paste and hope for the best. We actually put in the work, and then we get on a call. And I walk you through what I found, what's working, what isn't, and what I'd prioritize if I were you. So you'd walk away knowing where you stand and whether or not you would ever work with me. There's no account manager who's never seen your business. It's me and Anna and the rest of my team. There's no pitch, no pressure. If it's a fit at the end, we can talk. If it's not, you still got a real read on your marketing for free, and that's it. And what I tell people in the audit is, I'm going to give you my top 5 hit list on what to solve. You can take this with you. You get a PDF, it's yours to take. If you want to go take it to your current marketing agency or whatever, I can't stop you. I would really love if you worked with me. But at the end of the day, I'm just doing this so you know what's going on. I think we have
Thanks.
time for one more question.
Yeah, okay. So you touched a little bit on this. So we post consistently, but nothing happens. Is it the content or the strategy?
So, without really looking at it, 9 times out of 10, I'd say it's the strategy and not the content. And I know that's not what people want to hear because it's easier to think, well, we just need better posts. They just need to look cooler. But consistency without direction is just consistently busy. So, if nobody decided who those posts are for, what they're supposed to make someone do, and how good the content, and how you'd even know if they work. That's the key there. Then it doesn't matter how good the content is. It's pointed at nothing. So before you spend another dime making prettier posts or jumping into Canva, the question is there a plan underneath them? That's problem one. And then problem seven is, are they talking to each other? So fix the strategy and the content starts actually pulling. That's all the questions I think we have, and I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So let me just jump to the next slide because here, I did tell you guys at the beginning the only call to action I would have for you today, well, I guess I told you to book a meeting with me, so I lied a little bit. But it's a free marketing audit. No pitch, no pressure. We'll dig into it. You can head to my website, badbeemarketing.com, or you can book a meeting with me, and we can talk about what you're trying to accomplish, and we can go from there. Thank you so much for your time today. This will go out to everyone who registered, everyone who attended. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have a lovely Wednesday and we'll see you next time.